Yo YouTube, what's going on? It's HIGHMMA, and today we are here to discuss the fight night in Abu Dhabi that took place last night. I got some super good picks on this card. I only got 2 fights wrong. I know I couldn't get my prediction video out. I had a super busy week. I actually finished it, but there's no point posting it now because the fucking card's done, man. But I only got 2 wrong, so I'm going to go through, tell you what my predictions were and how they went. Let's not fuck around, man, because we're going straight from the early prelims all the way to the main event. So let's start with the early prelims at Denis Tiuliulin versus Cedricus Dumas. Now, I picked Dumas. I just thought, you know, Tiuliulin's bad on the ground. Dumas can take it there if he wants to. Not that he's got great wrestling, but, his wrestling's better than Tiuliulin's. And that, he's more athletic, better on the feet than Tiuliulin, which he showed. It was a pretty sloppy fight. Tiuliulin kept throwing these retarded arse fucking, he'd be throwing a flying knee and then kind of stop. I don't know. Me and my boy Robbie were watching that. We didn't know what the fuck was going on. We tuned in at the start of the second round because, the first just wasn't on the stream. So we didn't really know what was going on. We only caught the last 2 rounds. But Dumas looks like he put a pretty good fight on. I don't think he's going to be too much in the UFC despite his age. I just think that, he doesn't really have the skill for the weight class that he's in. But let's not fuck around. Let's carry on moving through the early prelims because next up, we are talking about Jai Herbert versus Rolando De Boya. Now, Jai Herbert really impressed me in this fight. I picked him going into it. And we thought that he was going to lose after the first round. He took some damage. But I'm pretty sure he did drop Bedoya at some point. He had a great fight. The striking was looking good and fresh. He was using his jab a lot. He was still moving even late in the fight. Bedoya just looked tired, and it just looks like he got figured out, man. Jai Herbert kind of wrote the script on how to beat him. His distance control was there. Whenever it came to clinch work, Jai Herbert was doing well. I was very, very impressed. And, to say that he's knocked down the likes of Ilia Topuria, who seems like he's got a granite chin, shows the kind of power he's got, despite his age, despite everything. I was super impressed, and I'm very, very interested to see who he fights next. He is from my country, England, so obviously I did want to rally behind him, and that is what I did. And I was very impressed by his fight. Not much more I can say. Let's keep on moving through these prelims, because next up, we are discussing these 2 stupid bitches. I swear to fucking God, man! Right, so these pair of fucking dickheads were one of the reasons why I did not go undefeated on this card with picks, because that stupid motherfucker Dudakova just has no ground game. Oh my life, this was a terrible fight. Absolutely fucking horrific. Dudakova went in undefeated and left defeated. Sam Hughes looks like a man. I don't even want to talk about it. Fuck you both. You're both terrible. I want them both to be cut. Let's move on. Now we're talking about a fight we actually give a shit about. It was Guram Kutateladze versus Jordan Vucenic. I was very, very impressed by both of these guys. It was a super hard fight to pick, but I got my pick right. Kutateladze won by decision. Now, Vucenic dropped him badly in the first round. But, Guram just managed to pull through. Listen, Vucenic was up a weight class. He was the Cage Warriors 145 champion, if I'm not wrong. It was short notice. I think if this was a full camp Vucenic, he would have beat Guram. And I'm a huge Vucenic fan. The only reason I picked Guram is because I understood the situation that Jordan was in. The odds were against him, and it showed because he lost. But I think in his next fight, he will definitely win. He put up a fucking sick fight. And some people would actually argue that he should have won that. But, going into the later rounds of the fight, Guram's striking was starting to come through. He was looking clean, very fast. Guram's a good fighter himself. He has had a couple losses. But I am a big fan of both of these guys. I think they're both boogeymen in that lightweight division. There is a lot of people that would not want to be fighting these 2. I think Guram needs to look for maybe a spot close to the rankings, someone just out, maybe a Bobby Green. Vucenic versus Bobby Green would be really cool if Vucenic was to stay at lightweight. But I know Bobby Green got called out by Joel Alvarez, who we will be speaking about very soon. But focusing on this fight, I think Vucenic has some nasty power, and I think that Cage Warriors skill will come through. There's a lot of people that have come up through Cage Warriors that have done amazing in the UFC. I think Vucenic will be one of those. So, without further ado, let's keep moving up the card to... Next up, we're talking about Shamil the Blob Gaziev versus Don'Tale Mayes. Now look, I know that this wasn't the greatest fight of all time. It was kind of a boring decision, but I am a big Shamil fan, and it's not just because he's a meme. I actually kind of like the dude. I think he executed his game plan well. He shut Mays down on the feet. He fucking dominated on the floor. I think that Shamil can definitely get into the rankings. I reckon there's some people low down in those rankings that he could take on and defeat. I think it'd be interesting to see him fight Arlovsky, actually. I think that that's like someone with a little bit of name value, would give Shamil a little bit more of the spotlight, you know, since he had that main event with Rosenstruik, and obviously it failed to impress. And I think we all need to give Shamil another chance, because despite the boringness of this fight, I do think that he has potential in the heavyweight division. Definitely not champ material, but definitely contender material. In my opinion, there isn't too much more to say about this fight. Don'Tale Mayes is a fat fucking blob that no one cares about. So, and we're going to move on. No disrespect, actually. I actually like Mayes. He seemed kind of cool in his interview. So, let's move on further up the card. Now we're talking about Mohamed Yahya versus Kai Fernandez. Listen, man. This fight, it was pretty quick. Mohamed Yahya literally jumped into the KO. He just doesn't look like that much of a good fighter. I really hate to say it because I don't want to just discredit his skill, but even leading up to the KO, he wasn't looking that fresh out there. He kind of looked tired from the start. Like I said this when I was watching it. Wasn't very impressed with Mohamed Yahya, but I was with Kai Fernandez. He made me get my pick right. I knew he could do it. I wasn't really ever going to be thinking that Mohamed Yahya could possibly win. I always thought he was going to lose this fight. But Kai Fernandez got a good finish, great for his record. I'll be interested to see what he does moving forward. There's not too much I can say about these two guys, so let's keep moving up the card. Here's another pick I got right. It was Azamat Murzakanov versus Alonzo Menifield. Now, I was picking Murzakanov via finish from the start, and that is exactly what happened. He schooled Alonzo Menifield until the finish. Now, while he was schooling him, I think MMA Guru said it in his video, or maybe Lucas Tracy, but I thought it too. He was looking that good, I almost thought he was going to lose. Like, he was getting tired just from how much he was teeing off on Menifield, because Menifield just leaves himself so open with his technique. He just rushes forward, big meaty hooks, as Lucas Tracy would say. You know, he's got these big crazy punches, and his chin's just all over the place. Murzakanov took advantage of it and eventually finished him in brutal fashion. It was a good finish. Azamat Murzakanov is looking really good. It's his age that is the only worry, but I do think he could get a couple good wins in middleweight before the end of his career. It might even be the start of his career. You never know. Look at how old Yoel Romero was fighting in middleweight. People have done it before, fighting in there old as fuck and doing well. I was very impressed with Murzakanov. Now, let's keep moving up the card. Let's not mess about. Next up, we're talking about Joel Alvarez versus Elvis Brena. Another pick I got right. I knew Joel Alvarez had this in the bag. He's so fucking big for lightweight. He's got amazing stand-up. His ground game isn't terrible either. He's got fucking tons of submissions. I was super impressed with his clinch work in this fight. The knees were so fucking good, man. Me and my boy Robbie were wincing even watching it. You could see the pain on Brenner's face. Eventually just breaking him down enough to the point where he did finish him. I'm pretty sure I picked him by finish. This was no decision pick. And I was happy to see another pick I got right. 2 picks in a row that I got correct via finish. Now, there isn't too much I can say about Elvis Brena. I mean, you know, he's not the most amazing fighter of all time. But Joel Alvarez is looking really, really good. I think he called out Bobby Green. I think that'd be a sick fight. I think even in the future, a Paddy the Baddy fight would be pretty cool. He's just so big for the division. He's kind of like Jalen Turner for lightweight, you know. He's just so fucking large. He could be a welterweight easily. I wouldn't be surprised if he moves up in the future. Alvarez is looking like one of lightweight's top prospects right now. But there's nothing really more to say about this fight. Let's keep moving up through the main card. Next up, we're talking about Mackenzie Dern versus Lupi Godinez. I think her fucking name is. Mackenzie Dern secured the win via decision. This was just a sloppy fight. I knew that it was going to go this way. I've seen loads of people like, oh, Mackenzie Dern's really improved her stand-up. Oh my god. She doesn't move her fucking head off the center line, bro. What are you talking about? It was horrific to watch. She doesn't move her head. Her guard is fucking terrible. She was getting jabbed up. So is Lupi. Their defense is fucking horrific. They were just slugging at each other, but you can't even really call it slugging because barely any of their hits were doing that much damage. It was just a fucking low-level fight.
it was a women's fight. You know, I hate to say it. Well, I don't even hate to say it. It's just the fact. We all know this. We all know how a women's fight is going to go. Coin toss in most of them. But Mackenzie Dern got it done as I predicted. I'm not really sure who she fights next because she's lost to most of the people that are above her in the rankings. So, there's not much more to say about this boring-ass fight. Let's keep moving up through the main card. He lost again, bro. He fucking lost again, bro. 8 losses in a row. El Kukui loses again. This was the second fight on the card that I got wrong. I thought that Tony Ferguson was going to get it done by decision. I just thought that Michael Chiesa wasn't good enough on the feet. I was an absolute fool for picking Tony. In the back of my mind, I always knew that Chiesa was more than likely going to win this fight. I hate to go against Tony, but he's finished, man. He's so finished. He's 40 years of age. Just go home, bro. Sit on the couch, drink a beer, sail off into the sunset. Stop trying to do this shit. When I saw him kicking his legs as he got lifted up in the air, like a fucking toddler does, I knew that he was cooked. Chiesa got that first round submission, just manhandled Ferguson. It was fucking horrific to watch. I hated seeing it. But if anything, it was kind of good. I mean, he did throw the one glove down. I really don't want to see him fight again. I just don't want to see him lose, bro. 8 losses in a row to say that at one point in time he was considered a top 5 lightweight of all time. I would say that prime Tony Ferguson is a top 5 lightweight of all time. But all of these losses are really cooking his legacy. And it is sad to see. I don't really give a fuck about Michael Chiesa either. He's old as fuck as well. No one cares about him. Both of these motherfuckers should retire. Stop fighting, bro. Yous are both old. Let's keep moving through the main card. I don't even want to talk about this shit no more, bro. It's making me emotional. Let's keep going. My mental state was low-key restored to a good level after Figero beat Marlon Vera as I predicted. I picked him by finish. I was kind of being ballsy with it. I know Marlon Vera doesn't get finished, but I really wanted to see him get finished because I'm not a huge fan of the guy. And, you know, I think after the Sean O'Malley fight, I said that he wasn't as skilled as people like to make out. This whole, oh yeah, he's a slow starter, but once he loosens up, he's a god. I disagree with it. I think that it's just, you know, he's too hesitant, and then by the time he actually is letting off shots, he's already too tired and too beaten up to be doing any major damage. This fight showed it. I had Figueiredo, he won the first round and the third round, and the second round was kind of close. You had fucking Figueiredo putting down Vera for the first time in his career, and I'm pretty sure it was with a cross. Like, it was just a perfect flush, straight, bang on the chin, put him down. Figueiredo cruised through. I'm not sure who Figueiredo fights next. I've seen a lot of people saying he should fight Peter Yan, and I totally think that should happen, because when Figueiredo was flyweight champ, Peter Yan was the bantamweight champ. A lot of people wanted to see that fight then. It makes all the sense in the world to make it now. Very, very interesting matchup. And for Marlon Vera, who gives a fuck about Marlon Vera, bro? This video's not about him. I'll mention him in a fucking future one. I was so impressed with Figueiredo. He just continues to prove that flyweight skill is so advanced compared to the higher weight classes, even in a weight classes skilled as bantamweight. I was super impressed. I hope that he gets another win before his title shot. I don't think they should throw him straight into one. I don't want to see him get schooled by O'Malley yet. I want him to have at least another win in bantamweight, because I don't see him winning the bantamweight belt. I just think he's a bit too far ahead in his career now. But he does have the skill to be a pretty decent top 5 gatekeeper of the division for a couple of years, I would think. But there's nothing really more I can say about this fight. You know, Chito Vera was looking sloppy. Figueiredo was looking sharp, man. Let's carry on moving through the card, because next up we are talking about
SHARA Bullet Magomedov. I was very impressed with his fight. He looked really good against Michal Oleksiejczuk. Oleksiejczuk broke his arm in his last fight against Kevin Holland. Going into this fight, I never really thought Oleksiejczuk was going to be able to do too much to someone like SHARA Magomedov that is that advanced on the feet. In my opinion, he is the best kicker in the UFC. Tell me anyone else that lets off head kicks at that kind of range and with that kind of speed. No one else does. I think a lot of people love to discredit SHARA, and I'm not sure why, because I think he is an interesting personality, considering he's Dagestani, they're big in the UFC, and he's not just the simple textbook Dagestani wrestler. He has the great striking. He looks sick out there. I think that people need to stop counting out SHARA Magomedov. I think he would beat the likes of a Vittori right now. There is a lot of people in the middleweight division that I believe he would beat. I think he'd beat a Hermansson. There's loads, man. I wouldn't even know where to start. I think he'd beat a Kevin Holland. He called out Nick Diaz. There's lots of fights that he could go on to next, which I will be mentioning in a Fights to Make video coming in the next few days. Mainly focusing on Mikhail Oleksiejczuk and the fight now, how they implemented their game plan. Oleksiejczuk is a good fighter. He's a good kickboxer, but when you're fighting someone that's that bit more advanced than you, what are you really going to do, man? SHARA took a heavy hit early in round 1 and then immediately started letting off kick after kick after kick after kick. He won on points using his kicks, and that's something that really impresses me. He doesn't just rely on the hands, it's more the feet. And, you know, not a lot of fighters do that. I think next, SHARA Magomedov should be getting someone a little bit closer to the rankings, maybe a Bo Nickel, a Joe Pyfer. I'd be really interested in seeing something like that. I was super impressed. I think he did deserve the co-main event spot. He proved it with his skill. I think a lot of people wanted to see a finish. He got a finish in his last fight, which I watched. Amazing fight. A lot of people calling him inactive as well, which is stupid. I'm pretty sure he's fought 2 or 3 times this year. Looking amazing. I love this guy. Like I said, he's one of my favorite middleweight fighters. I mentioned that in my Fighters I'm Rooting For video. This is very much a fighter I'm rooting for, but there's not too much more to say about this fight. I chose Magomedov by decision. That's exactly what happened. I was super impressed. Hopefully Mikhail Oleksiejczuk can pick up a win in his next fight, as now he's on a 2-fight loss streak against Kevin Holland and now SHARA Magomedov. But there's not too much more that we need to say about this fight. Let's keep moving up through the card. Now we're on to the final fight of the event. Corey Sandhagen versus Umar Nurmagomedov. The fight went exactly how I thought it was going to go. Umar via decision. There were close rounds, but Umar only, just winning most of them. I had it 50-45. I could see the argument for 49-46. I don't really think Corey looks that good out there, man. His striking wasn't really as good as what people make it out to be either. Umar was piecing him up with the simple combos on the feet. His wrestling was doing really well. I'm surprised we didn't see a submission, because there were a lot of points where Corey Sandhagen's neck was very, very open, and Umar just didn't really capitalize on those moments where he could have locked up a rear naked choke, an armbar, anything. But I was still very impressed with his performance. You have to think this is a ranked 12th guy taking on a top 5 contender with lots of experience. It is very impressive regardless of the fact that he's in the Magomedov. I think that he can probably beat Figgy if they do a number 1 contenders fight, but if they throw him straight into a title shot, I think Sean O'Malley will beat him. I think Sean O'Malley's good from the bottom with his submission game, and I think his striking is just far too advanced for Nurmagomedov. I think it's going to be too advanced for Merab Dvalishvili. I think he is the biggest danger in the bantamweight division right now. I think that he'd even be a tough fight for Topuria if he moves up soon. I really can't wait to see what happens going forward after this fight. The fight itself was, it was kind of mediocre. I was very entertained though, but I can see why some fans are calling it a snooze fest. There was quite a decent bit of grappling, and Corey Sandhagen was kind of just flailing. He was just switching stances and staying at range rather than actually trying to bite down on the mouthpiece and get some damage done. The only time that he really did was in round 5 when the fight was gone, and anyway, he wouldn't have been able to win. So big congratulations to Umar Nurmagomedov, potentially the next bantamweight champion. Although I don't think so, it would be very interesting to see if he was. I've been working on this video all day. I'm trying to go to bed, so I'm going to wrap it up here. I'd like to thank you all for watching. You know what I'm going to say. You don't have to like. You don't have to subscribe. Do what the fuck you want, man. But thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all later. Peace.